I usually talk about the sunrise, but this morning in the darkness out back, I was stunned by the moon. That moon last night was awesome, and this morning it was just as awesome as it shined over the back 40 of our church. And I couldn't help but think of how somehow, some way, God and His Son Jesus is a light in the darkness. I think of the darkness of the divisions that kind of creep across our country. I think of the darkness of things like cancer and Alzheimer's and ALS and MS. I think of the number of kids, even in our church, that are fighting addictions and depression. And many of us adults, too. I think of the darkness of people who have kind of lost their way and really don't know where to go. And somehow in the middle of all that, there is a light of hope, a light of second chances and forgiveness. And that's kind of what we try to bring to people, especially those who are kind of down and out. Done a lot of thinking this past weekend. It's kind of dangerous. I'm not sure what it is in your life. Do you have times when there are just certain things that happen in your daily life and it just triggers all kinds of introspection and reflection? I mean, one of you here today, your brother is near the end, and you're just praying. You know, you kind of feel guilty when you pray for somebody to die. But sometimes all you want is for that person who's suffering to have peace and breathe their last and go into that kingdom where there's comfort and hope. I know my friend Dorothy, she wanted to die for years. And yet somehow in her wanting to die, she wanted to live. It's kind of ironic. I don't think she really wanted to die. Because somehow in her wanting to die, she grasped a hold of what life was about. But finally, her life ended this weekend. And I know he's going to get mad at me. But I'm thinking of our buddy Calvin over here. In fact, in visiting Calvin yesterday, he taught me something I didn't know before. He said, I know what purgatory is now. I've never understood purgatory. But it's like you had those tests for cancer the other day, but you got to wait till Tuesday to find out. So in the middle of that, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, that's purgatory because you got to wait, because you don't know. You live in the middle. And somehow, some way, you were a gift because that's what you told us. And all of us have those waiting times. And that was profound because how often do we live our lives in between stuff? It's like you want to die, but you can't. You want to be healed, but you don't know if you will be. You want that job, but they're not going to call you until Thursday. You want to have kids, but you're not sure you can. You want to be a good friend or a good parent or a good aunt or uncle or a good pastor or a good mechanic, but you're not sure if people really think that way about you. We live a lot of our lives in between stuff, or we're waiting for the verdict. And I guess that's purgatory. But there is a moon shining in the darkness. There's a sunrise that always comes back. And there's the sunset reminding us that life is a circle of beginnings and endings and living in the middle of that circle. I think of the words of the gospel this morning where it says, God so loved the world that He gave us His only Son. And He did not send His Son to condemn the world, which pretty much shuts out about 75% of the preaching I hear. He didn't send Jesus here to make us feel guilty and not adequate. He came to save the world, to put us back on track, to see the good in the world and make it happen. Reminds me of the book that we're reading this week, thanks to Ken, A World Worth Saving. It's so easy to get down and angry and cynical, but somehow, some way, we try to rediscover that the power of good and decency is the greatest power in the world. So the question is maybe, will Jesus come back someday and make it all right? It's funny, I was listening to the radio when they were talking about the rapture, where Jesus comes back and He gobbles up all the righteous people and takes them into heaven, and then guys like me are left behind. But I'm not so sure about this Jesus coming back one day, that somehow He'll just take the faithful and escape and the rest of us are here. Because I was watching our mailman the other day. Did you ever watch your mailman or mailwoman? And my dog Harley can be on the other end of the hallway. And as soon as our mailman turns his truck into the driveway, Harley knows he's coming in. What is it about dogs? He just knows the mailman is coming. And our mail person, he brings the mail inside every single day. And if you're parked in front of the mailbox, he doesn't care. He just parks somewhere else and brings the mail in and always feeds Harley. And I'm just thinking to myself, I wonder if Jesus is somehow in this guy. That maybe Jesus is back and I don't notice. Dorothy died on Friday and I'm in her room and she's laying there in her bed waiting for the funeral director to come and pick her up. And one of the aides comes in. And she walks in and kneels at Dorothy's bed and embraces her and kisses her and says goodbye. And I thought to myself, wait a second. She could be Jesus. That's what Jesus would do. I think of Sandy Hook, back in 2012. Somehow, some way in the middle of that inexplicable tragedy, so many good things have happened where people have rediscovered their soul and what's important in life and what's not. There's this hair salon at 94th Avenue and 179th Street, and 3 or 4 or 5 times a year they just open their door on a Monday or a Sunday and let St. Colettas move in, cut their hair, give them pizza. And I'm thinking to myself, that'd be a nice place for Jesus to come back. And even on Friday, I had a service, one of those infamous services where it's for somebody who never darkens the door of the church unless it's a play rehearsal. And we have his funeral, and he packs the place. And I'm thinking to myself, you know why he packs the place? It's because of you. You may not believe that, but it is. Because you cultivate an atmosphere where everybody is welcome. You keep the place open because your heart and soul is open. You know the kind of religion that makes people invited and welcome and whole. And I realize whether we know it or not, Jesus is back. Jesus came back a long time ago. In fact, I would venture to say that Jesus never left. And when you do an ordinary act of kindness in your ordinary day to an ordinary person, then Jesus is back and a lot closer than you ever thought possible. Amen.